Welcome back to another Tina Talks episode. I'm your host, Kelsey, and today we have a guest. Her name is Gin Lalli, and welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Kelsey. I'm really looking forward to our chat today.
Yeah, me too. Well, before we jump in and get started, can you just give our audience a little idea about who you are, where you are, what you do, and then we can hop into the topic today about seasonal depression.
I'm a solution focused therapist. I specialize in anxiety and stress and depression. I'm based in the UK. I'm based in Scotland, actually, in Edinburgh, and I love it here. I'm also an author, so I've written a book and I've got my own podcast as well. So I'm all about the mental health space, but I'm very much in the solution focused genre, which I'm sure we'll come and talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, no, we had a little chat beforehand. I'm all about that solution focused kind of based therapy. It was actually what I was going to specialize in had I continued down the road. Yeah, because I love it. And for all your information and things you're sharing about your podcast, your book, all that stuff, for everybody, we'll be sharing that in the show notes. So that'll be there for you guys if you want it. So yeah, so today we're talking all about seasonal depression, which I don't know, I think everyone knows what it is, but do they really know what it is? And like, can we prevent it? And how do we handle it? And all the different solutions that are out there? Because we know there's quite a bit around awareness already with mental health and like what's accessible for people in terms of resources. So yeah, from a therapeutic point of view, how would you go about describing seasonal depression?
Seasonal depression is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a type of depression that is affected by the seasons. Sometimes it's known as winter depression. I think that might be a better way to describe it because it really is to do with a light level. So, this feeling of low mood, low energy, no motivation, in particular when the light levels go down in winter, especially if you're in the extremes of the northern hemisphere. Right now, we're in October. In the UK, the clocks just went back this
Hmm.
weekend. So it's something that, yeah, people are really feeling. So it can get dark, and Scotland in particular as well, it can get dark sometimes at 4:30 in the afternoon. And if you've got a grey
Wow.
day as well, so you don't feel like you're getting any sunshine at all, sometimes known as seasonal affective disorder as well, or seasonal affective depression.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize 4:30. I mean, I guess when I think about it, now that I'm back in Chicago, right now I don't think our clocks have changed yet, but it's getting dark now at I think 6:30, quite early. And then I think once the clocks change, it's going to be even earlier. Chicago during the winter can be quite gray. We've had really mild winters, but it gets just really gloomy and gray, and then it's cold, which is like even more so that kind of you get cooped up in the house, you don't want to go out and you don't want to
Yeah.
do things, and it can be really unenjoyable. I myself am prone to regular depression, and so I'm always fearful of seasonal affective depression just because it's another variation that can like lead into a more full-on depressive episode. Do you have any like kind of differentiation between regular depression, like major depressive episodes versus seasonal depression, or how would you describe the difference between the two, and like how does a seasonal depression affect regular depression?
I think regular clinical depression, people
Mhm.
know when they have that. Now, one of my bugbears is when people say, oh, they've got SAD, and it's a bit of low mood during winter. We all might feel it that we don't like winter. So
Mhm.
be very careful. We need to be careful how we use that seasonal depression phrase. It's not as common as we are making out. So it's lovely
Yeah.
to use that phrase. Clinical depression can occur at any time, longer bouts of it as well. And it's the whole, you find no joy in doing the things you usually find joy in doing. But if that goes on for a long time, you feel it. Now, with winter depression or seasonal depression, you will find come spring in particular, you start to feel a little bit better. There's a definite pattern. You can
Mhm.
almost see with the season what the reason is for it. When someone has clinical depression, it's almost like there's no reason. It can occur out of the blue. You can feel that it just wipes you out. You've been doing really, really well, and all of a sudden, there it is. It'll come along again. And it will
Mhm.
go sometimes just as quickly, or you do need to see a therapist again. But there's no specific pattern with someone who is prone to depression. Whereas with seasonal depression, you can definitely start to feel it as the light levels go down, and then you feel it lifting as the light levels come back up again.
Yeah, yeah, the lights have a big effect with seasonal affective depression, and I know like what would you say are some of you've mentioned like one or two like low mood. What would you say some of the signs and symptoms of SAD typically are? I mean, I know for me it's like low mood, really low energy. I get like more sluggish, constant fatigue, I
That's
would
right.
say.
Yeah, so they're the starting points. We want to withdraw socially. So you don't want to really
Mm,
mix with people. That's part of that. Just it's almost like a hibernation, and that's through
yeah.
evolution. That's what we're actually doing. We crave carbs more as well. That's a big
Mm,
one. So sometimes people say even the side effect symptom weight gain as well, and then consequently we're not moving very much because we've got no motivation, a constant
hmm
tiredness, constantly tired. And that definition of depression, you cannot find joy in the things you usually find joy in.
hmm
The joy just
Yeah.
goes. A lot of procrastination and sleepiness. Feel very sleepy, not just tired, sleepy all day.
And I know this is not the best like equivalency, but like this sounds like what I go through once a month with my
Yes. Yeah, yeah, it
like
is.
I get a little bit of SAD every time I have
Yeah.
my PMS, right? I get
Yeah.
sleepy and I don't necessarily lose joy in things. It's more so I get angry at things and
Yeah.
like,
But that's a
so it's
woman's season, right? So a
yeah,
month is a
yeah,
woman's season. So in
yeah,
that particular season,
yeah,
yeah, it's exactly the same feeling. So there we're coming back to that word season. So cycle,
yeah.
some sort of cycle.
And when you think about it in this way, because I know for me, right? I'm going to use myself as an example, and I think other people might feel similarly, right? I've had major depressive episodes that came off the back of life triggers, someone passing, big things, big changes, upheavals had happened. And I had struggled with moderate depression for a long time, but then I'd hit a major depressive episode because of that. And so I'm always worried that when the season changes, right, and winter comes, I'm naturally going to go into that hibernation and that lower mood. And so I'm worried about, oh my God, is this actually going to am I going to end up going into a major depressive episode just because I'm prone to that? But I think when we think about it in terms of season and like hibernation, doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. As I've gotten older, I'm 33 and I, I've started to notice that there are periods where it's like, no, I want to slow down. And we actually did a whole episode on the seasons of life, maybe a couple of weeks ago about this and what to do for the different seasons. And I think even having that mindset switch coming into a period of time when there could be that winter depression, that season depression. For me, I think it's helpful to think about it like, no, this is a hibernation that my mind, my body needs after like a crazy, fun, hectic summer right? Like it's something to shift into and slow down a little bit. Do you see that being like beneficial, having that kind of shifted frame of mind around it?
Absolutely. Yeah. What you've done there, Kelsey, is you've reframed. So you're reframing it. We can look at, the negatives of it, but why not look at the positive? Now, the season, we cannot control the season. It's going to change. We cannot control the weather. So what can we control? This is a time of year where, trees, let's use trees as an example. They give us a great example. Nature often does. The trees shed their leaves almost quite happily. They have this
Hmm
acceptance that, right, the leaves are going to go brown, beautiful color, they're going to shed because that's it. That's the summer part over. But now we're getting ready for a renewal. So we've got to go through this process. So yeah, let's reframe it too. It's hot chocolates. It's sitting and watching films. It's reading more. It's doing indoor crafting because we can't go out so much. So you've perfectly reframed it. And that is the way to cope with this.
hmm
That's, what you're saying, that you were worrying that because you're prone to depression, well, seasonal, with the season changing, is it going to make you go even worse? Well, don't expect that. Don't start predicting it straight away that, oh, right, that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen if that's what you're worried about. If you can reframe it in that, okay, so I am going to stock up on my books and I've got to start my indoor crafting and I'm going to get all the lovely hot chocolate in. And yes, I was saying that, we crave carbs and those kind of foods, but they are winter foods. If you look at, that's when potatoes and cauliflowers and all those kind of things come into season. And so it is that time of year to eat those things, to eat pies and stews and comfort food and soups, that kind of nutrition our body wants. And that's part of evolution and part of the seasons changing. Millions and millions of years ago, we would have maybe even hibernated. So we're going into a semi-hibernation. It's just that now in modern day times, we have things like electricity and fridges and TV. And so there's other things, but we can't expect to maybe be running at the same pace we did at the beautiful height of summer, when we're all out swimming and running and exercising and doing all those lovely things and being outdoors. It is a seasonal change, and it's about accepting that as well. I know that
Mm-hmm.
might sound really difficult, if we're talking to people here, who have got seasonal depression, but it really is. If you can create that mindset shift, just like you did, like you said just then, you
Mm-hmm.
reframed it. It really takes away the stress.
Yeah, well, to just piggyback off of that is right. I think it took me a long time to get to that shift of like, I would actually say maybe this year is the first year in a while I really actively had to reset. Last year my mom had passed, so like I was already in a not so great place by the time winter came, and so it was what it was. And then prior to that, I've been traveling all over the world, so I've been avoiding winters and I haven't really had to think about it. This year, I like with fall coming, I was pumped. I was like, I am ready for hibernation to slow down. And of course, my boyfriend's
Yeah.
like, we're going to Colombia for it's our friend's birthday. And so now we're here back in spring weather. But prior to all this, prior when I had to really think about, oh, winter is coming kind of deal, I would prepare in other ways. If I wasn't quite ready to make that mindset shift, right? I want the hibernation. I'm ready for this. I would do things like I would get myself a sad light. So I would have that first thing in the morning, which if people aren't familiar with, I think in the industry we call them sad lights, but
Yeah.
on like the general market, they're happy lights because
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
the purpose of it, right?
Yeah.
Being that the sun doesn't come out for some people at all, um, but very very late in the day to wake up and like kind of kick in the normal circadian rhythm. We need sunshine on our eyeballs, and I do that during the summer. I wake up, I go outside, I sit on my porch for 5 minutes, and I kind of get that going. But when I don't have it during the winter, I notice it, and it's harder for me to like wake up, and that's where all that sluggishness and all that comes from. And so to preemptively, right, I'm not ready in the mind frame, like the mindset yet, I would get my sad light. I'd also and I would do that for the first like 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the morning. And I was really really adamant about I have to make sure that I'm going outside for a walk even if the weather is
Great.
cold.
Yeah.
If it's
Move.
raining, yeah, if it's raining, okay, fine, I can skip a day, but I'd have to walk at least a little bit outside, and then I'd have to do some sort of body movement inside. Otherwise, I start to get like really stagnant, and I couldn't get out of it. And so, are there any other like I don't want to say because they're coping mechanisms, they are coping mechanisms, but preventative measures that you recommend in terms of like, okay, we know winter is coming, Game of Thrones reference. So winter is coming. What do we do to prepare if we are worried about what might come with it? And we're not quite in that mindset of like, yes, we're ready to hibernate.
Okay. Well, first of all, you've done the right things there. You started off on a really good basis. The mindset shift doesn't just come. You've got to take action first. So there's no point in just sitting there waiting for yourself to change your mind about winter. So what you've done is right. You've got yourself that light. You're definitely going to get that light in your eyes first thing in the morning. You are going to move. So in anything in life, mindset shift doesn't just occur. Action first, then the mindset shifts. People need to understand that. So please understand that first. So yeah, routine. What you described there was a routine. You have a routine. At that time, I'm going to do that with my light. Now, even natural daylight has got a lot of UV. So even we were talking about the gloomy days we have like in Chicago and here in Edinburgh as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot of UV about. Okay, it might not be sunny, but it's still bright enough to get a lot of UV into your eyes. So do not underestimate that before you go out and buy your happy
Mm-hmm.
lamp. Do not underestimate there is still light. And then our indoor lights, like I said, we've evolved. We have electricity. Put the lights on. Start your day as you would normally. Put the lights on, get going as you would normally. You've got to try and now create that shift in your day by using modern technology. So we've got all this access to modern technology. So keep with your routine is really important. Move, which you've said as well. We've got to maybe plan our outdoor time. Now, this is in particular, for women, which is still a shame to say, but like if you like to go for a run after work and now it's dark, maybe you're going to have to go for a run at lunchtime instead, just for safety. So we've got to maybe plan our day differently now to say, well, it's not light. It's not, by the time I finish work, it's not light. So what can I do? Well, maybe I can go at lunchtime. Maybe I can go earlier in the day. So we've got to adapt to that as well. Stay active. Whatever you do, stay active as well. Start, like I said, reframing. Get your recipes in, get your foods in, get the films and the books. And one of the biggest ones, obviously, I'm going to say this, is managing your mindset from a stress management point of view. If you are naturally stressed with life anyway, so lots of things going on, looking after the kids, really busy job, and then you add on top of that the light levels are going down and now you can't go out for a run after work, which was your stress reliever, well, then we need to manage the stress and anxiety in general as well, because we're just going to compound it. And like I said, we cannot control the weather. We cannot control the seasons. So we've got to be able to control ourselves and our reaction to it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I love that. I mean, that's I think when some of our listeners have heard, I left to go do some travels for a long period of time. And I had some major depressive episodes. And when I had left, I was in a stable place, but I knew, and I was on an antidepressant, and I knew I wanted to come off the antidepressant. And my doctor at first was like, okay, let's not take you off of it now. You're about to go across the world by yourself. You have no community. You have no support. It's not the right time. And so I was like, great. He gave me a prescription for a year. And so I went out there and I knew by the end of the year that I was going to be weaning myself off of my antidepressant. And this was with the help of my doctor. So don't recommend to do that by yourselves, guys. Definitely talk to your provider.
That's right.
But I was so adamant, and this makes me think the same thing about like leading into seasonal depression. I was so adamant about the routines and the coping mechanisms already in place before I was off the antidepressant so that it would make me a little more resilient in case life happened, things happened, or my body's natural reset went down the slope a little bit. And it really helped in terms of making me feel better. And then the second thing, which I think comes with the mindset of what you're talking about, and I know it's very like Instagram girly, whatever, but romanticizing my life, right? Like you said, cozy up with a little book. Get a book, put a fake fireplace on your TV, or I've fallen deep into the fantasy world of books right now. So there's all these graphics that they have on YouTube, and I'll put the fantasy world of Valaris on the TV and I'll be reading my fantasy book. And it kind of just gives you a little bit more of that uplifting lightness that you need, I think, when times are dark, right? And that's what comes with the season.
Yeah, again, good reframing. So first of all, what you're saying there is because you love the routine, because the brain loves routine. Our brains love routine. What happens when the light level changes, it feels like it's going to disrupt our routine. And it is, because we have to change sometimes the way we do things, or if things feel a little bit different. But so what we need to do is plan ahead and get that routine done. What that does is it gives us a sense of control. You're looking for control. So when you did that planning, you were looking at everything you could control. So you didn't know what was going to happen to the way you feel once you weaned yourself and you were going to come off your antidepressants. But there was lots of things you could control. You knew where you were going to be, how were you going to do this. And what we really need to remember with things like winter depression is, if you look at the Scandinavian countries, they have, in some northern parts of Norway, they have 1-2 hours of light in a 24-hour cycle. However, the Scandinavian countries have got the lowest incidence of seasonal depression.
They're like one of the happiest countries, according to studies. Yeah.
So it's something that, can be, that's where we need to be looking for our solutions. And what they do is exactly what we've been talking about. They really believe in adapting to their environment. This is when they go skiing. They love the cozy fires. This is their season to do all those things. They make sure, even during the summer, they're making sure they're getting all their logs in ready for winter. And they accept that it's like 10 foot of snow you can get. They can't even
Yeah.
go out. So they know they need to be prepared. It's just part of what they do. It's part of life. And if we try and
Yes.
embrace that into our life somehow, anyhow, whatever way suits you, there's no hard or fast
Hmm.
rules here. So like you were saying, Kelsey, this is what you like to do. Hopefully we're giving people ideas, but we're not saying do this and you will feel better. What we're saying
Right.
is these are kind of our ideas, but you need to find something that will make you feel better. So if you don't like reading, what else do you like doing? Some sort of craft. Like
Hmm.
everyone's into knitting over here at the minute. So everyone's knitting and crocheting, and we're getting into all those lovely crafty things. We're doing all of those. Baking. We might not bake so much in the summer because it's too hot. So yeah, we're going to start baking things. We've got to still find purpose. And a lot of people,
Hmm.
especially if you're quite an outdoorsy, active person, you feel that your purpose gets lost in winter because you can't do
Hmm.
those things. Well, you need to be a fully rounded person. You need to make sure you've got things that you can do otherwise. But like I said, if you are still outdoorsy, how are you going to adapt your routine to fit it in? So are you going to fit it in, like I said, in lunchtimes or daytimes or weekends more, or days off? You have to make a more concerted effort to change your
Hmm.
routine a little bit, but then get into a new routine for winter. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. And you just made me think about when I was, right. So I'm from the Midwest originally, and then I'm originally from outside Chicago. So it's cold. We have like pretty bad winters sometimes. It's been mild lately. You go up to Wisconsin, which I lived up there for a long time. It's where I started my field of work. It's even worse winter. And I remember in college, we're wearing little mini skirts and boots out, and it's like, cold as shit. You're just out there doing it. And I find myself, and I think this was the start of my mindset shift. It was like, winter, it's now winter, it's cold. And if you dress appropriately for the weather, it's not
Not
that
that bad.
bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
There's
a
no.
little
Yeah,
planning and preparation.
yeah. That's what the Norwegians say. There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so you
And
wear the right
they got
clothes,
some
you're
great
fine.
brands.
Yes, yeah. So and that's where, yeah, winter wear. That's where you go. You go to Scandinavia to buy your winter wear, or places like Chicago. There'll be specialist stores that will
Yeah.
have the right boots, the right waterproofs,
Hmm.
all those things to be able to make you more comfortable because the
Hmm.
season is going to change.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love this. And so I kind of want to like flip it a little bit. So let's just say, because you come from a solution focused area, and let's just say someone hasn't necessarily done the legwork to prepare themselves for winter, and maybe seasonal depression is setting in, or we're just at a place that we're not feeling good, and now winter is here and it's not making us feel better. With your background and like coming from solution focused approach, typically, like, well, I mean, give us a little more background around solution focused therapy, and then we could talk about it in that context. Because I'm for it. I think it's an amazing approach in psychology, and more people need to be educated on it.
Yeah. Obviously, I love it. And it's very much my mindset as well as on a personal level, as well as a professional level. So when I was researching the different types of therapies I wanted to train in, solution focus work just spoke to me. First of all, it's all
Hmm.
very science based, that this is how the brain works. So in solution focus work, what we do is we focus on solutions. Now, by solutions, I don't mean that you have the answer every time, but what we do is we focus on the good stuff where you are now and where you want to be going forward.
Hmm.
Everybody's got a story, Kelsey. Everybody's got a history. We've all got something. Now, if we look at incidences of anxiety or depression, if we did studies on this, there is no pattern to say that some people of a certain demographic that go through a certain type of trauma will all end up with depression. There's some people who have had lots of trauma who do really well. Other people who have some trauma and they are falling apart at the seams. There's just no
Hmm.
pattern here. And in science, we always look for patterns. But you've got to remember that that is how the brain works. The brain will accept that you've got a story. But if you want to feel better, for me, I strongly believe that you don't need to go into your past and start picking away and examining the trauma from years and years ago to help you feel better now. So by solution focused, I don't mean we're problem phobic. I don't mean that we're not going to we just want to ignore the problem. What we're saying is we accept the problem. You're surviving. You've got to this story where you are now. Now, where do you want to go from here? So
Mhm.
the questioning that we do in solution focused work is very much based on what small differences would happen tomorrow. Very, very small. Steps in the right direction. Which direction are we going in? With the way you're feeling now, whoever you are now, with your history,
Mhm.
where are you now and where do you want to be going forward? That's what we do in solution focused work. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you know this, that you know what the solution is, but you need to be at this point where you say, I don't want this problem anymore. I don't want to feel anxious anymore. I don't want panic attacks anymore. I don't want to feel depressed anymore. I don't want this fear. And a lot of the time, people know where it's come from. Human beings are very intelligent. As a person, if you're listening to this podcast now, I want to say is you know what your problem is. You don't need to examine it. Me as a therapist will never know you well enough to try and say what that problem is. If you've been speaking to your mum or your sister or your best friend, if they haven't been able to help you, a therapist like me might not be able to either. So you've talked about the problem. You've gone over the problem. My job as a therapist to make you feel better. That's the definition of therapy. And so the brain will focus on what you think about. So if you're thinking about anxiety and depression and panic attacks, that's where you're putting all your thoughts and that's all you're thinking about. Whereas if you're thinking about being calm and happy and motivated, maybe, or courageous, whatever words you want to use that apply to you, that's what you'll be thinking about. So it's in sessions with me, I kind of call it brain training. I'm training your brain to step away from that fight or flight or freeze response and
Mhm.
say, look, everything's fine. I'm very safe right now where I am. Nothing's gone wrong. And what is it that I want to do to feel better? What is that picture? Never mind how I should do it, because
Mhm.
we'll often say in solution focused work, if you knew how to do it, you wouldn't be seeing a therapist. So what we do is we skip that step and we say, right, what if you were feeling a little bit better? What would you do? What's that picture? Let's just use our
Mhm.
imagination. You've
Mhm.
spent your imagination reliving the problem. Let's start reliving some nicer times. Start
Yeah.
imagining them, putting them in your imagination. So that's the premise of solution focused work. And so that's why, some of the hints and tips I was giving were solution focused. Let's reframe this season.
Mhm.
What can you do? What is in your
Mhm.
control? We know what the problem is. It's the light levels are going
Yeah.
down. We don't like it if we don't like winter. Saying that, I know there's a lot of people that live in countries, very sunny countries that are sunny all year round, and they kind of miss
Mhm.
the seasons.
Yeah.
There's some people that say, well, I actually miss
That's
autumn and
me.
winter. Yes.
That
Yeah.
was
Do you
me.
feel like that?
Mhm.
Yeah. There's part of
I
you that's
love
like,
summer, but
yeah,
I missed the change just a little
that's
bit.
it.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
change is nice, just the change. And then spring. I love spring.
Yeah.
So, that's
Yeah.
when everything's green again and it starts lighting up and everything feels fresh. So you've got to go through winter to get to spring. Otherwise,
Right.
it wouldn't be a spring as well. So it's
Yeah.
all about reframing. But a lot of my clients come to me because they often know what the problem is, they're fed up with the
Yeah.
problem, and they want to feel better.
Yeah. And I love that description. That's a very great description. And I'm just going to say from like layman's terms, right? Because like I'm not the therapist here. We were talking about this before we hopped on this episode. I'm someone who I've got a lot of trauma in my background. There's a lot of trauma that I do remember that I'm very aware of now, but there's also chunks of my life I simply do not remember. Like, I don't have really solid memories around good memories, bad memories. Like, kind of, I just have blank moments throughout my life, but I still know where most of my trauma has come from and how I've moved forward in my life. I actually it wasn't like I needed to. There were some moments I did go to therapy, and there is a place and time for therapy always because it can be
Yes,
helpful to kind of sort out maybe what is the narrative you're carrying for yourself. Like,
I agree. Yeah.
maybe
There's a
you're
place for
not really
that.
sure, right? Maybe you're not sure, like, oh, what is the narrative that I'm actually
Yeah.
carrying with myself? And that narrative has obviously come from the past. And then the solution focus aspect is like, okay, we've identified the narrative. What do we want to do moving forward? And I had some therapy to, like work out like, okay, that's brought some awareness for myself. But the things that have been the game changer for me that really helped me get a hold of my mental health and I'm going to say this as well, doesn't mean I'm not prone to an anxiety episode now and
Of
again
course.
or
Yep.
a
Yeah, you're
depressive
human.
episode. I'm
Yeah.
human, but I'm more resilient in the face of kind of all the smaller kind of like bullshit that happens all the
Yeah.
time. And I feel more in control and not as susceptible. It's been those forward thinking, like, what can I do that's within my control to help myself feel better? Like, how do I want to feel good in my body, in my mind, in my heart? And like, what does that look like? And what do I have to do in practice to make that happen? And then doing it. And it's hard. Like anybody who's listening, I know that's probably not the answer that you want. Like when we're not feeling good, it would be great to have a pill just to be like, oh, or turn on my sad lamp and I magically feel
Yeah.
better. But it takes a little energy and effort. But I think that's what gets us on the other side of the hump. And then it kind of keeps propelling us forward and keeps us then appreciating when spring comes and when
Yep.
summer comes and then appreciating when fall comes because we're not scared of what's going to come with that decompression and that reset. um
Absolutely. Yeah. So the fear factor goes down. So anxiety comes in because of fear.
mhm,
It's fight or flight or freeze is what we're going into. So what are you scared of? And actually, it's not the thing that we're scared of. We're just scared that we won't be able to handle it. So once you start saying, well, I'll handle it. So I'm not actually scared of winter because I'll handle it. It's not winter that I'm scared of. I'm actually scared I'm going to fall apart during winter. And that's what I'm scared of. But actually, once you start reframing that, say, well, I will handle it. And oftentimes, so I totally agree with you. There's a place to go into the past if you want to. I'm just very clear as a therapist. I don't do that. So that will be with a different therapist. That wouldn't be with me. So sometimes I joke like I'm a therapist that doesn't need to hear your problems because I'm all about solutions.
I love that. I love that.
But what we often do is, as an adult, we start remembering a trauma maybe from our childhood or teenage years. And what you're doing now is with your adult brain, you are trying to analyze what that experience you had as a child.
Mhm.
Now, what I'll often say to people is if you met a child of that age now going through that trauma, what would you say to them? So instead of trying to analyze from your adult perspective what happened to
Mhm.
you as a child, because obviously you feel you're the same entity, but you weren't, you were different. And if something like that happened to a child at that age now, you would be very forgiving of them and say it's not your fault and you would let it go and you would not
Mhm.
expect them to carry it. So why are you doing that to yourself? So that's why we don't go into the past. And
Mhm.
question for you, I don't know, Kelsey, like you were saying there's parts of your memory, that have gone from the past.
Mhm.
Do you want it back? So I've had that argument or discussion, I should say, with people who say, well, I need to remember everything. And I'll
Mhm.
always say, well, it was quite traumatic. Like, do you kind of want to remember everything? Especially now, this might
Yeah.
be 20, 30 years down the road. Do you
Yeah.
want to? Do you need to remember everything? Let's put it there to say, yeah, it was traumatic. It was horrible. But now you have your life, maybe with your children, your job, your new partner, what you're doing. How will remembering those
Make a difference.
every individual detailed traumatic event, how is that
Mhm.
going to help you? Because once you're reliving it, it's very dangerous.
Yeah. No, it's like you're right back into that place. And like don't get me wrong, I think for me about my memories, and it's more so from a place of I have memories of trauma. So like I do remember not so great things happening. I do
Hmm.
remember that. I think it's more so like there are periods of time in my childhood that I wish I could remember the good stuff. Like I know like when was the first time I learned to bake a cake? Like when I learned the small little things that had that I've built up over time in my life, or memories with my mom or memories with my dad. And now both my parents are passed. And so there's a lot of like my history of growing up that I will never have access to.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I deal with those emotions. Like I let myself have
Yeah.
like feel the feelings and be
Yeah.
heartbroken over it when I want to feel that way and I allow it. But then when it comes to like I know enough of the trauma that has happened because there are memories of that and it's like do I need to go deeper into being like what was the explicit thing this and that or were
Exactly.
there were there more
Yeah.
memories of more things I'm sure there was more
Yeah.
memories of things
Yeah.
happening. I got enough of a picture to know that
That's it.
I don't need to know it now, right? Like and again this came through after setting up my routines and like getting into things. This is kind of like a little memory trigger that happened for me. I do yoga now as an adult and I like remember I always really wanted to get into yoga kind of thing. And I've been doing yoga now for like 4 years. And sometime in the last like year or two, I had all of a sudden this memory from childhood. In my childhood bedroom, there was this, her name's Wailani, and she's this Hawaiian yoga instructor. And she would be on at like 8 a.m. and at like 6 p.m. every day on like, channel 2 or whatever. And she's wearing these like colorful ass jumpsuits, like full on jumpsuits, doing yoga on top of a mountain. And this is in Hawaii. And I think that's when I fell in love with yoga as a kid. Like
There you
I
go.
like came back
Yeah.
to that memory and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's amazing. Do I need to go any deeper? No. And now when I do yoga and I finish my session or whatever, I look back at to different periods of time in my life. I look back at the version of me that I remember. I give myself a hug and I say, whatever you're going through right now, it's okay. It
Yeah.
sucks, but it'll get better. You'll survive. And it's me giving the love to the version of myself that maybe I didn't
That's
have
right.
in that moment.
That's right.
And that's the
That's it.
best I can do.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I move forward through it.
But notice how you were doing a good, lovely, positive thing and it brought back a
Mhm.
good, lovely, positive memory. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
being solution focused. So if you want more good memories, and that's what you're talking. So
Mhm.
there's a reason your brain's got protective mechanism there. It doesn't want to
Yeah.
remember the trauma. It says, yeah,
Mhm.
it was horrible. Like it's going to make you relive it. Why would you do that? So I hear that, when people in therapy have gone over and over the trauma and they haven't found, these things happen. We can't go back and change them, unfortunately. The reason doesn't lie there. Your brain's not like an engine. You don't go
Mhm.
in, find the problem, fix it, and then come out again. That's not how the brain works. So the brain will go to what you think about. So for you, by taking action of doing positive things is triggering, hopefully, you've just proven there, positive memories as well. So that's why I believe in solution focused work, because that's now helping you as an adult to
Mhm.
remember every single thing from the trauma from your childhood. That the reason is there, it's happened. We've got to sort of leave it in the past. Otherwise, it can really hold you back. And because you've made peace with it, you're now ready to do that work
Mhm.
going forward. And actually, so a lot of my clients sometimes come to me after they've done that work. So you're quite right. They've done the counseling. They said, right, okay, I've got the reason, Jen. So, but now what? I don't know how to move forward. But a lot of my clients as well, also, if they're coming to me in a highly anxious state, they know things have gone in their past. Once we get them to feel better, they
Mhm.
can then start looking at their past much more objectively.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
once we've taken away all that anxiety, the fear, the horrible feelings, calm all that down, because that's not a place to be looking at your past from, that kind
No.
of emotional, primitive place. Once you calm all that down, they'll then start looking at their past very objectively and rationally, and it's much
Mhm.
clearer. Otherwise,
Mhm.
there's sometimes we can get our memories can get quite confused as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, our
So
memory is not linear
not
like a
at all.
movie playing back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you've got to come from a more rational place to be able to do that.
Yeah, I love this conversation. I know we've kind of strayed a little bit from the seasonal depression,
Yeah.
but I think it's all very relevant. And I think maybe to just kind of tie it up nicely, what would you say from like a solution focused approach would be best? I guess like two components to be preventative for, the seasonal change and the depression that might come with it, or if we're already in it, you're deep in it, what would be helpful to like take action and do things in it in the moment with a solution focused approach?
So solution focused approach would very much what is going to be your routine going forward. What would show you that you're going to be able to cope with the season change? So people often
Mhm.
say, I'll wake up tomorrow morning with more energy. So how are you going to create more energy? You might need to go to bed a little bit earlier. You might need to have a better bedtime routine. You
Mhm.
might still want to get up. So it is everything we do is action first, then mindset. Don't sit there waiting for your mindset to change, but start visualizing what you would feel like if you just felt 10% better tomorrow. So not 100%, just even
Mhm.
5% better tomorrow. If you felt
Mhm.
5% better tomorrow, what would you do? So that's in order to prepare yourself for this change that's coming with the season. Know that we can't control the season, but you can control lots of other things. The other thing to do is to have some gratitude. What has been good about your week? What has been good? Look at the good things that are happening. And these are nothing, take your focus even away from the weather and the season. You know, that, oh, you met your friend and you had a really good time, you had a really good day at work, or the kids made you laugh, you heard your favorite song on the radio.
Mhm.
The more we focus on the weather, sometimes even in a positive way, it can trigger the negative feelings as well. So come completely away from it and just think of other good things that have been
Mhm.
good about your week. There's going to be something that that you will be grateful for.
Yeah,
You
and
gave all the tips. Go on.
no, I was
You
just
go.
gonna say with the gratitude, my go-to guys when I'm struggling to see the thanks in my life, I'll go as small as like I'm so grateful for this cup of coffee that I'm having
Yes.
after a really bad night of sleep, or
Yep.
I'm so
Yep.
thankful that my boyfriend stepped up and went and got us lunch because I just didn't
Yep.
have the energy to
Yep.
think or manage it. Very
Absolutely.
small things. If they
Yeah.
don't have to be big life-changing
Not at all.
things.
No, we're not. That's the first question I ask in solution focus session. What's been good about your week? And I'll always say, I want to hear if you had a nice cup of tea and you saw a cute dog. You know,
Yeah.
that's all good. That's what I want to know. It doesn't have to be
Yep.
this massive epiphany that you had, that, you know, something was amazing. It's the good little things. You saw your favorite program on TV, you heard that song on the radio. If
Mhm.
you're in the depths of winter depression, if it really does affect you, I would definitely recommend you can see your GP, see a
Mhm.
therapist, see your GP, you know, if you really do want some help. But it's also about finding your, what I call your three Ps, your positive activity, your positive interactions, and the way to positively think. So, positive
Mhm.
activity, you need to find an activity. And so, this is helping with the movement now. An activity that you can do indoors. If you're going to do it outdoors, you're going to do it in the daytime where it's light. An activity. Don't stop, don't hibernate, don't go into freeze. Your positive interactions, you're getting together. You don't have to have a big party, but you're getting together with your one best friend who you haven't seen for
Mhm.
ages, and you're going to go for a walk, and or
Mhm.
you're going to go for a coffee, or you're going to go around their house, or they're going to come around your house. And positive thinking, we're coming back to the gratitude again. What's been good as well. You know, the seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression, you know, has been proven. It is a seasonal type of depression. If you're really in the depths of it, there's nothing wrong with seeing your GP about that. But also,
Mhm.
please control your stress levels. It's about reframing and coping and managing, and a therapist would help you with that as well.
Ah, I love it. Very concrete. I have one last question, and I ask everybody this. And I know you've been coming from the therapist point of view, but I like to ask everybody at the end of our episode, what is your go-to number one favorite, if you want to say coping mechanism or positive habit or routine that has made a huge difference for you in your own mental well-being? What's your go-to favorite one?
Music.
Okay.
I will listen to music.
Any
So,
kind of music or
yeah, so I've got an Indian background, so Punjabi music, Punjabi
okay.
dance music, so very
Yeah.
upbeat as well.
Yes.
Or a little bit of cheesy 80s music, I like a
Oh, there
little
you
bit of
go.
that as well. So yeah,
Okay.
create a playlist of music and put that on. But that sound that you get, so I love music. So that would be it for me. Sound for me
Perfect.
is very important.
I love that. It is for me too. So I respect that one a lot. Well, awesome. Well, Jen, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed that. That's gone really quickly.
Yeah, it went really fast. Like I said, we'll be putting your information in the show notes. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, they can. But thank you again for coming on. And until next time, guys, we'll see you.